All right, next question. I imagine some of you may have on your mind, and therefore I'm going to speak to, is why is this person doing this on social media? And I guess I spoke in my initial video about the inspiration for creating this channel in the person of another social media um, creator that really was the trigger for it. But it goes back a little bit beyond that. The main, I would say, material or main feature of my material circumstances is at the moment that I am basically a around the clock, live in, on call, um, caretaker, assistant for a family member who has a mental health disability. They don't need me all the time, all day long, every day, but at any given moment during the day, they may need me for something. And so, for that reason, that's, looking at it as an outside observer, that would basically describe the arrangement. Now, this is the result of conscious decisions I have made along the way, and so that's really not so much a fate did this to me kind of a thing, although there is an element of that, I would also claim. But back when all this started in 2019, I want to say, I had just been involuntarily separated from my marquee employer. And as another example of a theme that's going to basically run through this entire channel, there is a lot more to that story. But I was faced with a couple of choices. I was living in a small town that had a depressed real estate market, and one of the contingencies I was preparing for was to sell my house and to move out here with my brother. And another option I had was to stay there and continue to seek a full employment type of career position, which I had engaged the services of a consultant whose approach I believed in. And so I had options. And I almost immediately received a full price offer on my house, actually competing offers. And so I had a decision to make. Do I take the bird into hand, and instead of the two that might still be in the bush, at the risk of being broke and unemployed and unable to sell my house and forcibly being removed from my house and being put out on the street and evicted? And so, I made the conscious choice to come stay with my brother, which I had done one other time, over the course of my life. And so it was a mutually worthwhile arrangement, especially knowing that he was potentially on the verge of winning an appeal with the federal government on his disability claim that they initially had told him was a slam dunk and then declined it, and he had to fight for 10 years to get overturned. And with part of his disability having a component of anxiety to it, really wasn't all that helpful. So, I made the decision. I'm going to accept the offer on my house. I'm going to pack up and leave. and moved back in with my brother, for as a port in the storm temporarily. And so, made that conscious decision, and that's what I did. And just as one example of how, the unseen realm that I refer to, I have seen operating and, converging, is on that day, the day that I left that location and had my U-Haul picked up or packed up, and my car packed up and loaded on a trailer behind it. The day that I closed on my house, received the proceeds, and left, came the word officially that his appeal had been approved. He was going to get all of the back wages and benefits that he should have been receiving all this time. And so that was, a convergence. And on top of that, this character who I have referred to as the Cubicorn and have told you about in a previous episode messaged me like at the very same time. Now, I know that coincidences do happen, but, those are like three pretty profound things kind of happening all at the same time, and two in the exact same moment. So that's just one of countless examples I could give you of why I have no doubt about the existence of this unseen realm, and things that happen in the material realm basically just being a residue of whatever is going on over there. So what does all that have to do with the specific prompt to launch this channel? So coming out to stay with my brother, basically taking the burn the boats approach. If you're not familiar with that, you can Google it, and it has to do with Cortez and the Aztecs. But that was, my thinking. It's like, I am 100% going to burn the boats in terms of divine healing when it is applied to my brother and his well-being, and also to help him administer the proceeds from this award, which translated into him getting a new house and doing the work that he was physically unable to do in order to bring that to pass. There was no small amount of physical work involved, and we even needed some external help for some of it. But, there's no way he could have administratively navigated that himself. The selling of his old house, the buying of a new one, the applying for a mortgage, just all those kinds of things he just would not have been capable of doing effectively. I mean, he might have been able to muddle through them somehow, but it would have been a almost unbearable strain on him. And just, for that reason, if for no other, my decision to come out here and, stay with him has been justified and has benefited him enormously. So it's a two-way street, without a doubt. So getting back to the premise of this particular episode of, being a caretaker of a disabled relative is one way of putting it. I happened to see a public service announcement on TV just, within the last few weeks, maybe within even the last month, on the subject of the importance of support and support groups and a support apparatus for caretakers of, disabled family members. And so called around locally and found out that we don't have that here. It's a small town, it's isolated, and the places that I would expect to know of such a support group, like the mental health counseling clinic that my brother gets his mental health services through, and the senior center, and I think maybe the retirement home. I contacted all of them, and they don't know of a local support group or even a support group at all for caretakers of disabled family members. So, on top of the really spark that ignited me to launch this channel, which was this other, social media creator that I've referred to a couple of times, that is why I am doing this in the digital space, because I do not have an option in the physical space. And I presume there are others that are in the same situation. And so I didn't really think about it explicitly, excuse me, in those terms at the outset. But, now that I am thinking about it out loud, that really is why I'm doing this on YouTube and on Twitter, is because there are people like me who don't have a physical resource or community in which to do it. And doing it digitally also enables anybody that ends up participating in it with it to do it at any time. You can record a video anytime you care to record a video, as long as you have the capability. You've got a smartphone, which, the vast majority of mainstream adults at this point have, or some other means. If you've got a computer, I'm pretty sure you can record video using some sort of app or tool that's on your computer. So that is the answer to that question. If any of you in the audience that has yet to materialize has in mind to ask. So thank you, and see you next time.